28-22 is your final. Hurts 15 of 20, 128. Notably dinged his knee in this one, limited him in moments, but mama, there goes that man. 26 totes, 205, the fifth most in a postseason game in NFL history. Saquon Barkley, the hero once again.
Congratulations, a wild game in wild conditions. What was
man, and we know that when we come out here and just do what we need to do, there's going to be better outcomes like this. We got to keep going.
This defense set the tone. What impact do you think your unit made in this game?
We never let our heads down, despite the weather, despite like the score or anything like that. We just kept going. We knew it wasn't over until it was over, so we just had to keep going.
What was it like to play in these conditions?
It's fun. You know, it's moments like this you dream as a kid, so just out here having fun, man, living the dream.
Heading to an NFC Championship game, your thoughts on a matchup with the Commanders?
We got to be ready. We know they're ready. We know this is what everybody's waiting on, so we got to go out there and do what we do and play ball.
Congrats. Enjoy it.
Appreciate you.
Back in studio, Joe Musso, Bryant McFadden, Christian Fourier offering their thoughts on the tail end of what was a hard-fought battle there in Philadelphia. I can't take my eyes off of this box score and off of the performance by Saquon Barkley once again. The difference the last time these two met, the difference in this one. 205, 2 touchdowns, and a palpable joy to just be in this moment, Mac. What stood out to you?
Saquon Barkley, his playmaking ability. And the thing about Saquon Barkley, he's one of the more patient runners in the National Football League. And what I mean when I say patient, you can have him bottled up for a quarter or a half, but all he needs is just a little window to turn a 5-yard run into a 50 or 60-yard run with his ability. And that's what we saw today, because if you look at outside of those two big runs, they did a pretty good job in trying to keep Saquon bottled up. But you have to do that for 4 quarters. It's unbelievable, and it's great to see them stick with the running game as well, Joe.
Mac, we saw it, and we said it last time these two met. If you don't give up those 2 home runs, it's just 100 yards from Barkley.
The same storyline.
Well, you give up another home run, and there goes your season.
Same storyline.
Christian, you look at Saquon's performance, the luxury that is for an offense. It's hard to put into words.
I mean, it is, but I'm going to try.
Please.
Because, you know, when you start the season, and we've touched on it, you're looking for what your identity is going to be. Every single team starts the year with, what's the personality of our team? What's important to us? You know, when it comes towards the end of the season and we need to win a game, like, what are we going to lean on? Well, the Philly, what they lean on is their defense, and they lean on their offensive line and their running back. And that's what won them the game today. And you can look at some of the other, you know, metrics when it comes to, you know, reasons why teams win and why teams lose. Well, the Eagles, they got 2 fumbles, right? And the Rams coughed it up twice. And, you know, the Philly, they made them pay for it. But ultimately, this is going to be it's always going to be a Saquon team. The last 2 times, if you count up all the yardage that they played the Rams, he has a 525 yards rushing.
2 games.
In 2 games. And not to mention the big impact plays, which are usually 20 yards or more. He's into 60-plus territory, which has got to be some sort of NFL record.
Yeah. You know, I sit here, I try and track the turning point of a game, and usually we can identify one. I've got an A.J. Brown drop there in the second quarter. I've got a Kyron Williams fumble. I've got a Stafford fumble. We got 2 great holds equaling 6 points by Jake Elliott, and then the long run by Saquon Barkley. This game back and forth, and so much can be said about L.A. and the job that they did, but how did the weather affect what we saw? Because it was a positive game script and a lead for Philadelphia when that snow started to come down. How important was it to be the team out in front at that point?
It was huge because it was very, very difficult in terms of footing, in terms of seeing as well. If you guys have ever been in any type of snowstorm or anything like that, it's not as clear. So for Philly, defensively, they understood what they were going to get when they had a nice lead. Pass, pass, pass. So you got an opportunity as pass rushers to peel your ears back and just kind of forget about the run and rush the passer. Not to mention short-handed receivers. Puka Nacua. How many times have we seen Puka drop out routes? Never. But because of the weather, it became an issue. When you look at some of the mishaps when it comes to fumbles, these are things that played a big part into Philly being able to do what they did today. And you talk about the common theme in playoff football, Joe. We sat up here on the same desk and we talked about what we thought we would see. The same can be said today. The common theme for me was doing what? Protecting who? Who must you protect? Wilson, the football. You have to handle Wilson like it's a newborn baby. You have to protect it, because when you give Wilson away in playoff football, you're going to be sitting home the next week. And that was a telling sign, because the Rams, they fought for 4 quarters, but 2 fumbles gave the Eagles the opportunity to do what they did today, which is win the ball game. And the same can be said for the Detroit Lions as well. I'm sorry, Detroit fans, you caught a stray, but if you protect the football, you might have been in a better situation than currently you're sitting in.
The three, we talk about indicators, win and loss indicators. It's turnover battle, it's third down efficiency, and it's red zone. And just looking at the highlights right there, I mean, there were so many near misses for the Rams as far as the Stafford handoff that left his hand. Williams coughing it up like just while he's running. Not to mention the ones that they actually lost. I mean, it could have been a lot worse as far as just how bad of a position that they put themselves into. And I would give them credit with all the bad things that happened. But this is the worst type of environment for the Rams.
Yeah.
They're not used to it. They don't like it. But they were thriving with terrible, terrible weather.
I'm interested in your guys' point of view on this because it's sort of an amalgamation of those two things you just said, the mistakes that were made and what the Lions did a day ago. Stay with me here because it feels like the Lions are sitting there all offseason now and saying, man, this was the year we could have done it. Does it feel like L.A. squeezed everything they could out of this season, man?
No question. Joe.
After that start?
Yeah, 1-4, and I was singing the praises about this team because of Sean McVay. But for them to be 1-4 at one point in time in this season, you miss both pass catchers in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. You look at the injuries on the offensive line, dealing with new players on the defensive front, and found a way to not only win your division, but also get into the playoffs and make some noise. I mean, this is a team that really showed in terms of coaching and just being prepared and executing. You can do a lot. And I can tell you this much. If you're going to get the Los Angeles Rams, this was the year to do so. Because Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Young, Turner, they're not going anywhere. And get this, it's not like the old Rams where they just throw away first-round picks. They use draft picks now, right? They use them. They hit less need when you talk about one of the more great, serviceable GMs in the National Football League. Brad Holmes and Les Snead, they're doing a phenomenal job. Howie is also with Philly. But when you look at this team and kind of out-kicking their coverage, Christian, they have no reason to hang their head low. Unfortunately, they were a bit overmatched, but they fought, they were prepared, and the future is extremely bright for the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned those picks because there was a time that they were willing to do everything and anything to acquire enough talent so they can win a Super Bowl. And even while they were asset deficient when it comes to draft picks, they were still competing 500, one game above 500, even though they weren't making the playoffs. They were still competing, which tells me that this coach, Sean McVay, absolutely has the pulse of his team.
Yes.
So when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, you're on notice. When it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, you're on notice. Seattle Seahawks, you're on notice.
Everyone is.
That division is on point with some of the best in the league.
The one thing I will say, Matthew Stafford, 1 year older after this game. We'll see how much runway there is left there, but played at a high level in this game and throughout this season. Just got to keep that, the play 60 arm?
Play 60 arm, keep it warmed up,
Got to keep that thing fresh. Let's get back on Philly here as they will move on to host the NFC title game. Full setup coming on that matchup here in just a bit. But when you look at what they were able to accomplish in this game through what they went through as well, Quinyon Mitchell dinged in this game, was lost. You saw Jalen Hurts, the knee got rolled up under. He was limited from that point on. When you look at them all season long, we've been saying this is the thing they have to clean up to be that. What is the thing they have to clean up between now and next week?
The passing game. The passing game. For some reason, there's a disconnect in the passing game in terms of efficient and just consistency. Because we can rave about Saquon Barkley, left and right, deserving so. But at some point in time, you have to provide a sense of balance in this offense. And today, I mean, pedestrian-like numbers once again from Jalen Hurts. 128 yards through the air. And even before he got rolled, he was struggling, Joe. So something about this passing game that's not connected. He got outplayed by Matthew Stafford. Unfortunately for Matthew Stafford, he lost in the biggest stat, which is win, right? He didn't win. But outside of that, Matthew Stafford outperformed Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has to find a way to get things going. And then he has to deal with the knee element because he got rolled up a little bit. We don't know exactly the health going into this matchup against the Washington Commanders. But I can tell you this much, Christian and Joe. If you're playing against the Commanders right now in playoff football, you got to score north of 30 because their offense, they don't punt the football. They have one of the best punters in the National Football League because his leg is extremely fresh because they're super consistent.
That's right.
Yes. So if you talk about having a clear day in terms of weather and just being frigid, the Commanders can score points. So that's the one thing I think, Joe, they have to find a way to clean up a little bit, just to balance the passing game.
Yeah, I would find a way to somehow quickly reconnect if I'm not Saquon Barkley, if I'm Jalen Hurts with my receivers. I would find a way. Maybe it's a dinner. Maybe it's, listen, let's put the past behind us. There's something going on. A.J. Brown did not come up.
Do a book club.
Maybe it's a book club. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, the Tao of Pooh. I have no idea.
You got to get together.
But they do need to get together because at some point in time, now it's going to be the Washington Commanders. They're going to say, okay, anybody but Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
Anyone but Saquon Barkley. We'll take our chances with the receivers and Jalen Hurts, but Saquon Barkley's not going to run for over 2.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh YouTube của mình. Video ngày hôm nay của mình sẽ là video gì đây? Nhiều quá, không biết làm video gì đây. Rất nhiều những sản phẩm mình đã chuẩn bị để tô màu để gửi tặng đến tất cả các bạn đây. Đấy, những sản phẩm chắc các bạn rất chi là quen thuộc. Những đồ dùng, con vật đây. Và đồ dùng đi theo mình là hộp xăm màu. Hộp xăm màu của mình đây. Đây là những cây màu đầy màu sắc này. Rất chi là tuyệt vời nha.